And I want to talk a bit about the Oilers. And normally you would think you're talking Oilers, you're talking McDavid, him taking the lead on this one. But man, this series, it has been, in my opinion, for the Oilers, all about Leon Draisaitl, right? This guy has been the Oilers' success. He's been the major part of their success, the offensive production that he's been doing so far in these past 5 games. We talk about, look, he's got 2 goals game 1, 2 goals game 4. He's got a goal and assist, 2 assists game 2. It's unbelievable to watch, and I feel I've said it before, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people have said too, is because he plays with McDavid, that immediately makes him one of the most underrated players in NHL. As much as people do think highly of him, when you're right there with McDavid, you can't help but look at McDavid first. But Draisaitl is a huge part of their success this playoff run in this series. And the good thing is too is he does take the pressure off of McDavid, right? I think this series, McDavid, he was kept off the score sheet in game 1, I believe. He hasn't been as loud as a lot of people would have thought he was. But again, what's great is he doesn't need to be when you got players like Draisaitl doing what they do. And, he's been all season long, such a great factor and right there with McDavid in terms of production and importance to this team. And, he plays the body really well. He's really a dynamic player, right? I think what I'm happy about now is he normally gets a lot of credit and a lot of highlight reels for setting others up, right? A lot of good passes and stuff like that. And his vision is unbelievable. It's incredible in terms of playmaking and his ability to find others and set them up. But I like the fact that he's shooting now, or he's getting a little notoriety right now in the series for scoring and being a scoring threat. Not that I don't think he never was one. I just think that it's always McDavid on the Oilers, right? So to see him get the notoriety a little bit now for being the scoring threat is good, and I'm happy to see that for him. And and he's able to do so because he gets in those open spaces, right? There was one of the goals, I believe it was game 5, but slot gets in the slot. There's probably a one-timer from behind the net or side of the net and goes right to him. But those are the kind of plays that players like him make, and it's always you make an effort to get open and make an effort to find those loose pucks as opposed to trying to find that perfect play. And he's not afraid to enter that house, right in the crease, right in front of that crease there. And, he just seems to find that open ice, and also speaking of McDavid, him being paired up with McDavid, and I think in game 5 for a little bit there, I saw, it was a good pairing that they've been used to being with each other for a long time, and to see it back now a little bit is really good for both of them. And I think they did get a power play goal, I think, that game. I don't know if it was either one of them, but they got a power play goal. I think on that, I may not be, or maybe I don't know if I'm maybe off on that, but I think they did. But yeah, game 5, they really took control of that game. I think that just the way that the Oilers have played all season long, hopefully, I think, and I'm kind of going for the Oilers in this series here. Hopefully they've woken up a little bit to realize look, you can't have had as an incredible season as they've had and end it with a first round exit, and that's, they got to tighten up whenever they take the lead against the Kings. That's something that has been a factor for them, just keeping that lead, and that's a thing they have to watch out for. But also you got to give Kings a lot of credit, right? They're a team that could have easily folded, and I don't think anyone was expecting this series to be as competitive as it is, especially with the Oilers and having the success that they've had. So you got to give him a lot of credit, right? And I also personally, I think Korpisalo does deserve a bunch of credit here. He comes up big again, gets pulled game 5, but I don't know how much of that, a bunch of those goals were just right in his face, slot shots, one-timers, rebound. I mean, it was hard to, I didn't really think that he was too much at fault. I think pulling him was just more of a save his, on the mental side, just save it and move on, right? Flush that game down for him. But I think Korpisalo has been a big reason, especially I think when they got their second win of the series. He came up big, and I think Korpisalo, in my opinion, he has that same style as Bobrovsky a little bit, where he's very athletic, has such good flexibility, can make saves that other goalies can't really make. and he's got such good battle in him, right? Like he battles for the puck. He's, when he's down and he can, he's just a scramble, or he has to find the puck within a lot of traffic in front. He has that ability to, really fight for it. And I think that that's a big factor whenever you're playing against, best player in the world right now. He's got that battle in him, and so I think he gives the Kings a really good chance to win. I know there's might have been some talk about, like, do you sit him for the next game? But I think you gotta roll with Korpisalo here, unless he really does give up like a really bad game. I think that you gotta ride that hand there, and he's done a good job. I think you got to give him a lot of credit there. But also on the Kings side, the Oilers have the Kings have had this no quit attitude a bit, and they keep constant pressure on the Oilers regardless of what the score is. And I think, again, that's what helps them to stay in games, right? That helps them to never really be out of it. They'll come back, and no matter how many goals are down, and they'll still fight. And even like the game 5, right? Like, they were basically done, but you could still see the battle in them. There's no quit in them, and I think they're used to being in that position this year, at least, where always having to battle for their their spot. And you see it with the way that they play. They're a very physical team. They're a big team, and the Oilers are, especially on that defensive end. I think that they're a little bit young, and I think that's, if you want to call it a weak spot, but I think, in my opinion, that's where the Kings can take advantage of, is the defense of the Oilers. The goaltending's pretty solid with Skinner, and I think their offense, of course, probably their best aspect of their game. The defense side, they're a little young in terms of playoff experience, and I think that's where you've seen a couple of times where the Kings will expose them. You see a lot of rebound opportunities the Kings have when they're on the rush, and the Kings forwards will creep in behind the defenseman whenever the shot's taken, and the Oilers defenseman kind of has their backs turned sometimes to the Kings forwards that are rushing, and it's one of the things where that's where they get a couple of their chances here and there, but that's where the Kings, I think, have somewhat of an advantage. Is you got such a good. You got a couple good veterans of the Kings, with the Dowdies and stuff like that, where they can they have that playoff experience, where the Oilers on that defensive front, right? You got Darnell Nurse, doesn't have that much playoff experience. I think he's like their top guy on defense, but it's a pretty great series, really competitive series. I don't think anyone thought it would be as competitive as it has been. And so we'll see how it goes. I kind of see the Oilers taking this one, 4-2. I see them take this next game, but you never know. If Korpisalo stands on his head again, this could go to Game 7. So we'll see. But should be a fun one to see, and see how this all ends.